Ugh. Ayun na. Kamusta kayo dyan, mga kameta? Sorry, inaayos ko pa yung angle na medyo magulan na. Yan, medyo kakabalik natin sa Pilipinas. Except, temporarily, alis na naman tayo shortly. So, sabi ko, ihahabol na naman natin ito. Bago na naman tayo mag-update from, God willing, other parts of the world. No? Marami tayong pwedeng pag-usapan from all across the world. Yung mga nakahabol dun sa live natin kahapon from airport, pasensya na if the quality was not good kung saan-saan ko lang ginagawa. At kitang-kita nyo naman na medyo pagod talaga tayo. Medyo warag. Talagang kita ko back to back. And believe it or not, hindi tapos. So tuloy-tuloy yung mga morning engagements natin. Kanina umaga rin, may mga interviews tayo, mga 8-9 a.m. pa lang. Dyan sa One News, dyan sa mga kasama natin si DJ Chacha, tsaka si Parent Ted Filon kasi on break yata siya, no? So medyo tuloy-tuloy ito. I hope I'm gonna be still coherent. Kanina medyo may mga inaaway naman tayo dyan sa Twitter among others, but I love Twitter because that's one way for me to keep in touch in terms of yung shifting opinions, no, especially on the most contentious issues all across the world. At doon sa mga syunga na walang alam sa atin, just to be clear, I have written books on different parts of the world, as in academically published books, alright, and journal articles. So hindi ako nagmamaganda, ay hindi dahil ako po ay presidente o senador ng iba't ibang bansa ay nagsasalita tayo. Hindi. Alright? May alam po tayo sa iba't ibang region. I mean, I can confidently say I'm intimately familiar with at least 3 regions of the world. Right? So, just to be clear. Claro? Entiende? Okay. Having said that, pag-usapan natin ito. Quite interesting, mga kameta. Quite interesting. Dahil ito si Sara Duterte, medyo acting president natin, acting officer in charge dahil of course, as usual, I'm sorry, not as usual, as needed, ang ating minamahal na Pangulong Marcos Jr. is on international travel. Again, in fairness naman, I mean, there's Grand Prix kind of diplomacy in travel na medyo questionable because I haven't seen the actual investments coming in. So, sana naman yung mga kaibigan natin sa Department of Trade and Industry hindi lang hanggang purong MOU at mga pledges lang. Medyo sana tapos na tayo dyan. May pangtatay diplomacy na yan, no? So I have some issues about the Grand Prix diplomacy, etc. And I had conversation with friends back in Singapore a few days ago. But there are some big events and summits that are very timely, and I believe that our president should indeed attend and attend very proactively. Kasama dyan yung ongoing ASEAN GCC Gulf Cooperation Council Summit. So yung mga leading Arab countries at saka ASEAN countries ay magkakaroon ng summit. This is great. This is fantastic. This is important. And I look forward to very proactive and very fruitful interventions and discussions by the president, not only in terms of getting business and investments, but also in terms of making sure na we are on same board with our fellow global south countries who are also extremely troubled about yung mga development na nangyari ngayon sa gitnang silangat, not too far away from Riyadh in Saudi Arabia, no? Because after all, marami tayong mga, we have thousands and thousands of ating mga kababayan in Israel, in occupied territories, but we have millions of ating mga kababayan in the Gulf Cooperation Council nations, from Oman to Bahrain to Emirates, Emirat Al Arabiya to Saudi Arabia to Bahrain, as I said, to Qatar, to all of these countries. So malaki po ang ating interest, no? Malaki talaga ang ating interest, mga kameta, to make sure na maayos po yung ating diplomasya at proactive po yung ating diplomasya. Now, speaking of diplomacy, may mga nagreklamo dyan na mahina ng internet. Hindi naman yata, di ba? Okay naman yung internet natin. Baka kayo po yung mahina ng internet. Ayusin yan. Walang sisiyan. Okay naman yung internet natin, di ba? Klaro naman tayo. Talaga lang, bumalik lang tayo sa Pilipinas. Third world na kaagad ang infrastructure. Hindi naman sa gano'n. Ang laki nga ng bayad natin sa broadband. Ay, naku, ang Pilipinas. Ay, naku, ayoko na magsalita. Mahirap na magsalita. Anyway, balikan natin ito. Okay. Booyakasha. Buyaka siya. In fairness to acting president essentially natin, your officer in charge natin, of course, vice president is in charge when the president is abroad. In fairness naman to Sara Duterte, bago tayo pumunta dun sa mga ibang statements niya, kasi may mga hindi pa rin tapos yung whole, the whole yung mga, alam niyo na, mga bardagulan na nangyayari sa loob ng ruling coalition. Pag-usapan natin yan. Kasi may statement din si Vice President Sara Duterte na know your true friends. No? Know who you are true friends. So, may in-imply na may mga ahas dyan. Mga tambalos-los. Yung mga ganyan. Okay. Mamaya, pag-usapan natin yan. Pero dito sa kanyang pahayag, no? Dito sa kanyang pahayag, in fairness, Vice President Sara Duterte, see, we're fair. We're fair. If you are competent, if you're doing the right thing, 100% I'm more than happy to support you. I don't care who you are. I don't care what's your background. The same way, na as I said, I don't care what's your color or creed and all. I'm gonna care for your life. Right? Every child's life matter. I was very clear about that. I was a bit emotional about that. Sorry, kahapon. But I had to control it. Sa airport and all of that. But today, let's talk about this. In fairness, kay Vice President Sara Duterte, she had not only constructive but a very important intervention, because yung idea ng ceasefire, right? Yung idea ng tigil putukan, yung mga ganyan. This is quite actually sensitive because our key ally, the United States position is quite different. Remember, yung United States po ay nag-veto ng isang United Nations Security Council. Pakita natin dito. Nag-veto US ng isang United Nations Security Council that essentially was calling for ceasefire, because the US position is, they have a special ally there that has the right to self-defense and has to deal with the militant urgent threat. Yun ang position ng United States, of course, which many other countries don't share. Not only the Arab world, but also many countries like Indonesia, many countries like Malaysia, many countries like Turkey, which is the NATO ally, and many countries in Latin America, like Brazil, for instance. Brazil is now the president of the United Nations Security Council. So may pinost po tayong video dyan, di ba, na sa United Nations Security Council, lahat nag-raise ng hands almost, dalawa ng abstention, US lang nag-no. So that was a resolution essentially calling for ceasefire. So just the usage of the term ceasefire or, tigil putukan, that's very sensitive, right? Because ang position pa rin ng US is that they have to 100% stand by their special ally in the Middle East, no? But, of course, President Biden also emphasized that all lives matter, Palestinian, Christian, Jew, Muslim, Arab. So he had to do that very delicate, very difficult balancing act. Although I'm not very sure he was seen as balanced by much of the neighboring countries, especially in Arab and Muslim countries. And the fact that the US vetoed the United Nations Security Council, being the lone country going against it, of course, was not necessarily positively received. In fact, if anything, this has given chance to China present itself as a global leader. Now, given that context, you see, ito yung ginagawa natin mga kameta. Hindi lang tayo dito nagmamaritas lang na, ito yung sinabi ni ganito, na hanggang barangay. No. We give you the global perspective and then we look at how the Philippines position itself within that global perspective. No? So, speaking of that global perspective, mga kameta, I think, for Sara Duterte, of course, you also know her, her heritage, the Zimmerman heritage. I think may shalom pa siya towards the end of her pahayag. So, obviously, this is not something totally alien to her. She visited also Israel back in the day together with President Duterte. Now, President Duterte said whatever things about the conflict right now in the Middle East that, it's just so crazy and out of this world. I'd rather not even talk about it. At hindi po ito yung hiwalay mo yung tubig sa isla sa West Philippines. Worse than that. I mean, may levels of tatay commentaries. I mean, minsan wag na lang, wag na. But in fairness kay Sara Duterte, in fairness sa kanya, she had literally constructive and I think this was not something easy to say. And Sara being a mother, Sara being a woman, I think perhaps she also appreciates the value of human lives. Kahit sino ka, especially mga kabataan, perhaps better than men, right? So in iba talaga yung pagmamahal ng nanay, di ba? So let's just look at the video of her commentary. Okay, mga kameta. I'm just trying to bring this out here para naman pakinggan natin, because in fairness maayos naman yung pag-draft and very stateswoman-like, in fairness. Kaya nga kudus Kaya nga sinasabi ko, huwag tayong haters, mga kameta. Huwag tayong haters, okay? When when a Filipino leader, andun na eh. O, hindi mo siya binoto, ayaw mo siyang BP, well, tapos na eh. Tapos na yung elections. So, now, next election, better luck, right? But, andyan na siya, and if she's doing something well, you have to support that. You have to support that. And you have to appreciate the context. Kasi ang dami kong nakikitang, ang dami kong nakita yung mga sarcastic comments implying I'm being sarcastic. Now, let's look at this mga kameta. Please just tell me if narinig niyo siya, no? Oo. Sorry, ito yung isa pa. 1 second lang
Kolektibong pananawagan
Ito.
sa daigdigang komunidad sa pagpapahayag ng pag-alala sa lumalalang karahasan sa gitnang silangan at ang epekto nito sa mga inosenteng sibilyan, lalo na ang mga bata na pangunahing biktima at may pinakamalaking posibilidad na maapektuhan sa ganitong kaguluhan. Ako'y nananawagan sa aking mga kapwa Pilipino na ipahayag ang isang tigil putukan at dalhin ang usapin ng kapayapaan sa mesa.
So tigil putukan, no? That's very clear. So that's ceasefire. That's ceasefire. That term is very, very important.
Ating ipanawagan ang pagkakaisa ng mga partido upang maglabas ng kolektibong pananawagan para sa pangmatagalang kapayapaan at wakasan ang pagdurusa at kahirapan na nararanasan ng lahat ng sibilyan, lalo na
Ng lahat ng civilians. Again, that's a very fair, that's a very balanced way of putting it, right?
ang pangangalaga sa kapakanan ng mga bata. Ang patuloy na kaguluhan ay may malaking epekto hindi lamang sa kaligtasan at seguridad ng mga Pilipino na naninirahan sa mga apektadong lugar, kundi pati na rin sa kanilang mga pamilya sa Pilipinas na umaasa sa kanila para sa pinansyal na suporta. Kaakibat nito, binibigyang diin ko ang paghahanda ninyo, mga kababayan ko, sa posibleng kahirapan na dulot ng pandaigdigang kaguluhan. Kinakailangan nating tiyakin ang seguridad sa pagkain na maaaring dumating dahil sa ganitong sitwasyon ng hidwaan. Sa pag-aalalang ito, nais kong bigyang diin ang kahalagahan ng pagsuporta sa mga mapayapang solusyon na makakatulong sa pangmatagalan na kapayapaan. Ang
pangmatagalan na kapayapaan. So she's talking about long-term solutions here. Mahalaga yan.
Pagtindig para sa kapayapaan ay pagtindig para sa mga bata at sa kinabukasan ng ating bansa. Tayo ay may malaking papel na ginagampanan upang maisulong ang kapayapaan sa pamamagitan ng pakikipagtulungan sa iba't ibang sektor at iba't ibang bansa. Exactly. At sa daigdigang komunidad.
So again, international community working with like-minded countries, no? Dapat kausapin natin yung mga iba't ibang sektor, civil society, international community, yung mga fellow ASEAN country. Again, very good. This is a very good statement. This is a very, very, very good statement, in fairness.
Sa ating mga sariling paraan, maaari tayo.
So, sorry, na-cut yung part na yan kasi alam niyo naman, nag-multitasking tayo and all of that. But, you see, that's it. I think this is the side of Sara Duterte that, many people tend to see when they meet her actually behind the scenes, no? She's very gentle, she's very stateswoman-like, she's actually very nice and all of that. Again, I'm absolutely 100% clear. Nakita niyo lahat ng mga sinabi ko at mga kritisismo natin throughout the months and all. But in fairness, Sara Duterte also has this side, this very stateswoman-like, this. I know, magpo-post na naman kaya yung picture na may, alam ko na yung, okay, alright, alam natin, okay, I'm the last one you should tell, but this is it. This is a very, very good statement. This is an important statement. How I wish I heard that first from President Marcos Jr. But I don't know, President Marcos Jr. was first in the Belt and Road Initiative in China, mukhang investments, putting relations with China on even keel, siguro yun ang kanyang priority. But I wanted to hear ano ba talagang position ng Pilipinas, aside from DFA and our great, fantastic folks in DFA, in terms of ano ba talaga, two-state solutions, long-term solution, or is the Philippines going to be more like US and stand by one side through and through if there's going to be massive humanitarian crisis in Gaza, and regardless of the effect on human lives and children especially. Tsaka yung emphasis ni Sara Duterte dun sa buhay ng mga kabataan, that's very very important, and she specified lahat ng kabataan, no? So in the same way na, as I said, my heart bleeds hindi lang sa ating mga kababayan na nabiktima ng mga terror attacks and all of that, but for all children who are suffering amid this latest round of violence and conflict. Hindi ito first time. The conflict and the violence didn't start nung last October 7. This has been going on for quite some time, no? And as I said, we have to condemn any indiscriminate attack against civilians. It's completely unacceptable by anyone under any circumstances, no? So in fairness, this is something very positive that I appreciate from I almost said President Sara Duterte, by Vice President Sara Duterte, but I won't be surprised if Vice President Sara Duterte were to run for the highest office, which is not impossible at some point in time. She may show more of this side, no? But she being Duterte, there's always going to be also a different dynamic here, no? And here, there's this fantastic statement by her, very important statement by her, right? We have to work with other like-minded countries to push for just and lasting peace and protect all lives, all civilian lives, all children's life. That's very, very important. Very not so tatay, right? Kung nakita yung mga statements ni Tatay Digong dito sa conflict na yan, just go, my goodness. I mean, imagine we had 6 years of someone like that. Sorry dun sa mga super fans, fanatic and all, but sorry dun sa mga iba sa amin, medyo, inisip yung sitwasyon, may puso, may nag-isip, public policy, evidence-based. Sorry na lang, may disagreement na lang tayo dyan. No, but the other thing is, at the same time, there's also this Sara Duterte, right? Which also, going back and going strong, no? So, dun sa kanyang pahayag, she also said, know who your true friends are. At ito po yung pinost niya sa kanyang Facebook account. Na-upload po yan. Ito ay, of course, ang konteksto dito, yung konteksto, ito yung pagtanggal na kanyang confidential fund ng House of Representatives under the leadership of the right-hand man, essentially, of President Bongbong Marcos, President Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos, right? And his right-hand man, of course, is Speaker of the House, Martin Romualdez. Sa isang bahagi ng kanyang mensahe, pahayag, ito po yung sinabi niya, English ang meron dito, sorry. Don't take part in any sort of oppression. Instead, in times of difficulty, observe and know who your true friends are beside you. Everything in this world has its right time. Whoa, shots fired, right? So, what's that supposed? Is that an implicit threat or anything like that? Ito pa yung interesting, the vice president, in fact, even invoked the scripture. No, speaking of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, verse 1 to chapter 8, no, if I'm not mistaken, right? So, dito for everything there's a season and a time for every matter under heaven, time to be born and time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up what is planted, time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and time to build, time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to throw away stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to throw away, time to tear and a time to sue, a time to keep silence and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. Actually, kung binasa niyo yung scripture natin, it's amazing. It's just, there's just so much wisdom and poetry there, right? There's just so much wisdom and poetry. And just yesterday we were talking about it. Again, for a moment, park muna natin yung mga issues natin. I mean, come on, guys. You know naman my stance on confidential fund, on the Duterte legacy and all. But, I genuinely hope that the good vice president, is really having this moment of spiritual reflection, no? Is having this moment of introspection, etc. No? So, even if may ganon, I don't know, I mean, you rather try to be on the. I mean, one reason why I correctly predicted that our foreign policy would be much better under Marcos than Duterte was precisely because I was open to the possibility that there are other dimensions to Marcos Jr., of course, right? Now, that doesn't mean we're gonna forget about the dictatorship's legacy, about a lot of shenanigans. And speaking of Maharlika Sovereign Wealth Fund, well, mukhang drama-drama lang nangyari. Baka nga, remember, I gave two possibilities. One is like genuinely reconsidering it, or second, baka hindi lang natuwa dun sa na-propose dun sa advisory board. So, yung mga hindi pinanood yung buong buo ng ating vlog the other day, please check it out because I also look at the glass half empty and it looks like the glass half the empty part perhaps was more true. But anyway, we're gonna wait for more updates dun sa Maharlika Sovereign Fund's final version in terms of implementing rules and regulation, what tweaks were made by the president potentially, how much power the president added to himself in the review and revision. Let's look at that. But my point is, my argument still stands. You have to put pressure on the government. And my point is, look at the positive direction in terms of Philippine foreign policy. I'm not saying things are going to be fantastic forever, or I'm not going to say things have been 100% the way I want it. No. But in fairness, things have turned out very well on some fronts compared to what was expected. And I was not shocked, and perhaps, I mean, not to be mayabang, but I kind of predicted these things more than a year ago because I said there's another dimension to Marcos Jr. He's not just son, he's not a clone of Marcos Sr. He has his own mind, he has his own reflections and all of that. So I don't know, part of me is hoping that Sara Duterte, after all of those quote unquote humbling moments and whatever she's going through, that she's indeed having this kind of spiritual introspective moment. At nakita man natin yung mga pictures niya, nagba-mountain climbing, nagsiselfie. You know, at the end of the day, tao naman tayong lahat, di ba? And ako, I believe in redemption. I believe in redemption, especially redemption that is anchored in spirituality and scripture. It could be the Old Testament, it could be Bible, it could be Quran, it could be any of the great spiritual scriptures out there. I do believe in that. At the same time, of course, I'm saying, let's see, actions. Actions speak louder than implied or supposed introspection. So we're gonna watch out. But I'm just saying it's interesting to see also this side of Sara Duterte because we usually see the more palaban side, the more the daughter of Digong kind of side. But it's good to also see her this side of her, and kudos to her for making this very strong position. So see, hindi tayo hater. And please lang guys, wag tayong ganon, di ba? Okay, I know marami dyan hindi nyo gusto si Sara or BBM, but what, a hater natin for 6 years? Wag naman ganon, di ba? When things are being done well, welcome it, encourage it so that we see more of that. And then next elections, hopefully things will turn out better for you, right? You'll get the people that you think really deserve to be there. But in the meantime, habang wala pang elections, we're working what we got, right? So we call out what's wrong, and we nudge and we encourage when things are moving in the right direction. Simple lang yan, di ba? Now, speaking of the conflict that Sara Duterte was mentioning, let me give you a little bit of an overview of the bigger geopolitical picture also here, mga kameta, no? So, of course, I expressed my more human take, my more spiritual take on the conflict. Now let's look at the broader geopolitical implications of what's happening in the Middle East. No,